Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another show about speaking out live with me. And as you may have noticed, I'm on my own, and Chiquido Joe really wanted to join me, but alas, she is experiencing COVID and it's hitting her pretty bad actually. I saw that everyone said that Omicron uh, wasn't that bad, but apparently she has problems with her throat, her head. She can't. Well, her smell is off, and well, I don't know, but she's not too happy. That's it in a nutshell. Um, I've got a new setup. I'm still trying to figure out what works best for me. Not sure yet. So I don't think I need much extra lighting though. So last week we were talking about narcissistic partners. I don't know if you remember, um, but I shared a story about one of my clients who has been experiencing a narcissistic partner for like 4 years now. Well, he for a couple of times he tried to get away from her, and eventually he succeeded. And um, well, I can share he's having a hard time with it. But here's the thing. Um, Ever since I got to speak to a number of other people, as you may remember, last week we had both Bunny and Joe speaking about their experiences. And of course, well, not of course, the next day on Instagram, I got to talk to both Michael and Maria, and they shared a pretty similar story. Well, what I've come to realize is when it comes to women, they usually are the target of physical abuse unless they are stronger than the partner is. And men, they are, of course, men are supposed to be stronger than women. And when it comes to violence, and a man were to defend himself, people would look at him like you are the one who's doing the bad things. So the good guys usually don't hit any women, but they are being abused, whether it's just mental or maybe also physical. And what I got to notice is, um, of course, people want to get away from it, and when they're not, for some reason, one or another, are not capable of doing so, they start to numb themselves. So here is this conflict. The conflict is between, do I stay? Am I good enough to ever find another woman who, I'm almost inclined to say, who will treat me that well because they believe that the woman is good for them. I'm talking about men now, right now. So, and so they are like, nah, I can go, can do it, you know. It's and of course that's the goal. What uh, what the woman wants or the partner. If I just uh, make it, if I generalize it. So all partners who are narcissistic partners, they want to control their spouse. They um, they tend to isolate them. They tell them the other one is no good. And the sad thing is, we're not talking just about exes. We're also talking about children, about family, about brothers, about sisters, about dear friends. And what I've come to see is, ever since I did this broadcast, which is only a week ago, I've talked to many people, including today. Today I got to talk to someone, and we met for totally different purposes. But she also had her fair share of abuse, especially mental abuse. And in this case, it also reflected on, well, in this case, on her own children. And, you know, being a mom, I guess that's one of the worst things that you can find out, that your child is being bullied, molested, or whichever way possible. You want to defend your child, and when you can't, and you find out that things have been happening that you haven't been aware of, that hurts. That really hurts. And I guess when it comes to being bullied or put down or whatever, it's it's amazing how well the let's call them the victims, um, for lack of words, how the victims don't tell other people, whether it's because of shame or they don't want to burden the other one. And quite honestly, I've heard that many times as well. And that's why I was a little hesitant when it came to using the word victim, because I don't believe that these people who are enduring bullying or harassment are necessarily weak people. They, in fact, they might be quite the opposite. They might be very strong. I mean, you as a kid can actually not share with their parents that they're being bullied day in, day out, one day after another. That takes courage. That takes courage to say, okay, I don't want my parents to worry because they have enough to worry about already as it is. And I have to say kudos. But the result, and that's about, is people are keeping to themselves. So when you start talking about it, it's surprising, how many people get to express that they've encountered something similar. And I guess that when you look in one family, chances are that the siblings from narcissistic parents, and I'll get into that in a little bit, will also find spouses who are narcissistic. So I made this comparison last week or in the last couple of days. And I said, well, you are being conditioned. You are being trained early on, especially when you have a narcissistic parent. And the predators, so the narcissistic partners, they know it. They can pick you just, from a lineup and know, oh, that's one I can go after. And what has surprised me from numerous conversations is, even when both partners are earning money, if we're talking about, especially about narcissistic women versus men, that the narcissistic women, even though they are earning money, are not inclined to pay for anything at all. And when the relationship breaks up, they are more than likely inclined to say, okay, I want alimony, even if they earn more. Well, that was surprising to me. But then again, if you say you are always right, and your goal is to be the one who gets it all. Well, it doesn't make sense that you want the guy to spend money. I mean, why would you pay, right? I mean, it's basically a because I can story. Well, to go to the other side, once people get to realize that this isn't working, so sometimes they're kicked to the curb, and other times they find the strength to go away. Now, when it comes to women, abuse is often more visible unless you have those out there who know where to hit you. So it's not showing, and I am now realizing that I didn't make any disclaimer. Um, for those out there who are watching, that this is actually something that not everyone. Okay, this is weird. So someone. Ah, okay, I see. There's not a literal comment. Um, so when someone and I'm oh, this is funny. Someone gives a like and I'm totally off my game. I totally forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah. So of course there. So first of all, warning: if you're watching this and you just tuned in, please note that this is not the thing you want to have kids watch. And if you are experiencing some sort of abuse and you're not up for it, um, maybe you don't want to watch, or maybe you do, because I also do have some things to think about. And let me start by saying that for anyone who is watching, find people, find support, reach out to hotlines, reach out to strangers, reach out to friends, reach out to your siblings, but go to people you know you can trust. And when I talk about strangers, you'd be surprised how many people out there are willing to help you. But you have to say, I need support, help me, please. And then they will help you. So that's one thing I want to say. And it's so important to just, you know, reach out to people and say something. And of course, I know that a lot of people are intimidated, they're scared. You know, their family may be threatened, kids may be threatened. But the question is, what's worse? I mean, what does the future hold? And what I have heard numerous times by now, and that's only in a week since I started talking about this, is that once, especially family and guys, find out, they usually teach the perpetrator a lesson that he won't forget, and then it usually stops. But going back to mindset, and I guess this is important. That's why I said before, um, people are being trained. It's not like this happens just all of a sudden. And there is Cheeky Joe. So she's not going to go on camera because she's not feeling very well, but she is here. So that's good.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. So,
Good. Sorry, I just can't go like I look absolute terrible. I really
and
look awful. And I feel
what
it
did you
too.
think about the smiley with his two star eyes?
I know. I was like, oh my God, my face is gone.
Yes, your face is glowing because you can see your face. Right?
Oh, I just look really awful. I couldn't put myself on there because I just look terrible,
Yeah.
absolutely rough.
Well, I already explained at the beginning that you are suffering really
Yeah,
badly with COVID. So
yeah,
everyone has been saying, "Oh, the Omicron variant, that's not that bad." But apparently, you have loss of smell and taste, or it smells weird.
yes. I've lost my smell already. I've got no taste buds. My body is literally aching. I'm just really, really suffering. My throat, my chest feels so. I feel like I've got an elephant sitting on my chest. It's that tight. It's really,
Mm.
really tight. Really, really
Yeah.
painful.
Well, make sure that if you feel like you are running out of air, that you go to a hospital, get some
Oh
oxygen, or
yeah, yeah. I will do
yeah. Well, you
definitely.
know the whole story. You've seen it with your husband.
Yeah, exactly.
So, oh, I feel for you.
You can have it if you want.
So this is
Excuse me.
hello.
Oh God. Is that for Chinese New Year?
Okay, and the little one.
Oh my God, they're so cute. I like them.
Yeah.
I really
He's at
like them.
the house. Anyway, for people are thinking like, okay, you were saying something about narcissistic partners, and now there's.
That's me and you.
Okay,
They're
so
they're
who's the
they're our
small one?
standing lookalikes.
Who's the small one? Who's the big one? Oh! She left me. Well, that means that it's my cue to continue. Oh, there she is again.
And there,
Where did you go?
I don't know. I was talking, and it just disappeared. I was like, oh, where you gone? Oh,
Oh, the small one or the big one?
sorry.
Are you the small one or the big one?
Uh, I'll be the small one.
Just for today. So, oh, did you hear anything of from what I said, or did you
No,
really, literally just join?
I literally just joined.
Okay.
Yes, I didn't hear any of it.
Oh, you're so clogged up. I'm
I know. I
so
just get so out of breath as well. Just really, really so exhausted. It's like, oh, I feel like literally feel like something heavy is sitting on my chest.
yeah,
And I never suffer. I never get ill.
yeah,
Never.
hmm,
Oh, God.
yeah, yeah. Okay. You're up for a little bit of listening and talking and chiming in.
Yes, I will do. But when you're talking to someone else, I will just mute my mic because you ain't going to want to listen to me breathing heavy because they're going to think you've got a heavy breather on the phone. They're going to
Okay, so
think, who's
for
that?
everyone who is joining us right now, listening, viewing this, maybe in hindsight, Joe is suffering from COVID. So, for those who say it doesn't exist, well, she knows all about it. It does exist. She just didn't think she would catch it.
No.
Uh,
Oh, jeez.
yeah.
It's
And for
horrible.
those who say the Omicron variant isn't that bad, apparently you already have had a major fever and
Yep.
splitting headache, sore throat, not
Achy
able.
body, everything. I
Yeah,
just, oh, I felt terrible.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, and again, I feel horrible for you.
thank
So,
you.
yeah,
My friend has it too, but she's
yeah,
not so bad. She's just got a little bit of a sore throat and a bit of a headache. And I went, You're so lucky. I've got it all.
Yeah. Well, most people I've heard actually don't have it that bad.
But
I mean,
she had it last August. She was really bad, really
mhm.
bad. So she's got it again, but mild. So
Yeah, she probably got some antibodies already.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Well, I do know somewhat how you feel, although I've never lost my smell and my taste. No,
Mhm.
that's not true. I don't have any smell most of the time. So I do taste very well. So,
Yeah.
and I have to say, it does have its advantages to not smell that good.
Uh, I think I'm going to sound like Hank Voigt by the end of the week.
Did I tell you that story? Um, Joe and I are usually on the chat, so I'm taking a break for the subject right now. I'll get back to the topic in a little bit, but sometimes we need to keep it a little bit light as well,
Yeah.
especially when I'm talking about these kind of topics, which aren't easy. So, did I tell you that last week I I know I shared it on Bonnie and Terry's show actually. So I went to an on show. Het was een show. Too many shows. So this person had called had sent me a message and it was in perfect Dutch. And if you know the story, just tell me. And I was like, okay, so just two letters, E and L, L, okay. And this person wanted to have something. And then the next message was in horrible Dutch. And I was like, oh no, I don't trust you anymore. Um,
Ooh.
what I've seen a lot of people do is that when they are when they are from abroad and they have Dutch partners, that they actually let their Dutch partners write the message. But you know, there are also a lot of scam artists out there, so I'm always a little
Oh,
bit
yeah, we know that.
yeah. So so I said to the friends who were over there, like, can you stay a little bit longer? Because we were cleaning out the house. And they
Mm.
said, yeah, that's okay. But why? So I explained to them. And then I said to my brother, can you keep an eye on the cameras? Because I don't trust this person. I don't know who it is. But anyway, she calls me. Her name is Elena and she's Russian. And she said, well, you may have noticed I'm not that good at Dutch. I said, yes, I noticed. She had been here like for over 20 years. So, um, and I had a good laugh with her. And we talked about Corona and about vaccines. And I said, are you vaccinated? Yes, I am. And do you have the
Mm.
booster? Yes, I've got it too. You know, I'm what she called an old horse. And I'm like, okay. So at some point, we get to discuss ages. And she says, I'm 50. I said, well, so am I. She was like, what? That was so funny. Oh, are you surviving?
Yeah, I just keep drinking loads of water.
Yeah.
Just drinking loads. Like, I had
Yeah.
to manage to drink half of the soup because when I swallow, oh God, it really hurts. I feel like
Oh,
I've got two big balls in the back of my throat,
uh-huh. I know
golf
the
balls.
I know the feeling all too well.
Uh,
Yeah, anyway, um, she hangs up the phone, so I'm not that worried anymore. I know it's a woman, so that's okay. And then she comes to the door and she sees my face. And she's like, you are a woman. You're not a guy. I thought you were a guy. I thought you were a gay
oh
guy.
no! Oh
Yeah,
my God!
because of my voice, because I always have a little bit like a hoarse voice.
Yeah, but you can still tell you're a woman. You don't sound like a bloke. I mean,
Well, no,
Right.
well, that's probably why she said gay guy. So it
All right.
was funny
You
altogether.
should have said. You should have said, "I am a guy. Why? What's up, baby?"
Well, I could appreciate what she said, and I know that my voice is a little bit off. I mean, right now too, it's not the same as it used to be.
No. Oh, mine don't. Mine doesn't sound like this. Well, you know, my voice don't sound like this. I
No.
sound like a horse at the moment. This is Hope White.
Well, I something this week. I need to huff. I didn't know that it's possible, but instead of literally coughing, I need to huff. So people close your ears. It's like I instantly get out of breath when I'm doing so.
Yeah, so you have to. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It is a normal show. Please note.
Yes, it's nothing sexual, honestly. Yeah, just I've just got a
But
hoarse voice because I've got COVID. So but we are women. We're both women. Yeah, I'm a woman too. My initials are JB, but I'm Joe. I'm
yeah,
a woman.
we are not on the hotlines, which are not supposed to. Well, you know.
I could probably do good on the hotlines, couldn't I, with this voice?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard
If
the
I
same story.
practice for a couple of days to sound like Voight, just think how much money I could make to say I'm ringing them up.
Well,
Do
you
you
can.
want a voicemail from Jason McGay, like Hag White? I could do that
Well,
for
I,
you.
I have to drop a little lower. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think mine needs to as well. Oh dear.
So, do we want to share a little bit about what we're going to do next week, or are we going to keep it a secret and continue with what we were talking about?
And what you talking about? What we saw of who doing the interview?
Yes.
Yes, because I've actually got to be doing a post. I'm going to be doing a post about it and telling people that we're going to be doing
Oh, okay,
a
okay.
live as well.
Yeah. So,
So I'm gonna
since this show is about speaking out, we are going.
because I've joined the actual page on Instagram as well. That the people in the interview, the woman from UK that runs it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm going to tag them in it as well
Okay,
and
cool.
tell them that we're going to be doing a thing about it. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't know if they're still actually raising stuff for it at the moment. I'm not really sure because it's got all quiet. So they've not been posting on there. So whether they've raised the money, and because I know it was just to open up schools, wasn't it? Because the schools were bombed.
We are talking about the circumstances in Syria where I didn't know this until I was actually watching the interview, but apparently, when it comes to war zones, some areas are off limits, which are schools, and I believe
Yeah,
also civilians places.
yeah. But they don't get given any alerts, anything, and it's terrible. How many children that have lost their lives was absolutely atrocious.
Yeah,
Imagine having 4 or 5 children all in school and not one of them coming home. How sad is that? When I
yeah.
watched the documentary first, or the interview, before the interview, I cried. It was so sad. It was just so sad.
You know, I'm surprised that if when I was a kid, there were these magazines. You actually showed those pictures about what was going on in those.
But you don't think of it though when you're young, do you? We're oblivious if we don't know that it's actually going on.
Well, that's the thing. There are some things which are still imprinted. Uh, in my mind,
Oh
and
yeah, me as well with the IRA. I don't know if you ever heard of them
yes, I did.
and what they did, and because I got family in Ireland
Mm,
and what they did to London as well. and all things like that. It's all it does stick in your mind. It's they're images you'd never forget. They'll
Yeah,
always be there, you
so,
know, and it's just terrible. And obviously 9/11, that's a devastating saga as well,
yeah.
you know.
Well, the what I find most gruesome, and that happens in a lot of those war zones, is that children are being captured and then made into little human soldiers.
Yes, and they walk about with guns. They're like age 10, 11, and shooting.
And
Oh
sometimes,
my God, it's just terrible. Absolutely. You couldn't even imagine your child. And then they get hold of the
well,
girls and they rape them and abuse them. The young mums, the young women, young girls as young as 8, 9 being raped because they want to have sex. Oh my God, why would you do that to a child? Why would you even think of it?
yeah, it's all about power.
How? And it
Right?
goes on in these countries because they've got no law standard out there because they're in this heat of, this dictator bloke who thinks that what he does is great. And how can he sit there every day knowing full well that he's killed hundreds and hundreds of children? How could you live a normal everyday life
Well,
knowing what you've done?
here's the thing, and then we get to mindsets, and maybe we can link it to the topic of abuse, because I was still talking about the narcissistic partners,
Uh,
and I was also talking about the narcissistic parents. And this is the thing: if you haven't seen any differently, you don't think about it. So there are countries, and
that don't know what a
I
normal life
are
is.
the one who are, like God, and the women aren't, and then it's for them it's normal to hit their sisters, to kill their puppies,
Mm,
whatever, because they get away with it. It's literally
yeah,
them.
it's a normal day life for them, isn't it? It's like when you're brought up in like when you find a lot of young girls or boys as well, because it happens to them being abused from like such an early age as 4 or 5. They become prostitutes because they think it's a normal way of living.
Yeah.
That's why many of them turn to prostitution because that's the only life they've known. They don't know what a normal, happy outdoor life is.
Yeah.
And it's pretty sad.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree
What
with
time's Fonda coming on?
He's not coming on. I just read. He said he's tired. He's not scared, but he's tired, and he's got to work on some stuff. But
Okay.
we could have switched this episode and gone straight to the
Yeah, but
other.
you can't see me.
No, no. So we have to postpone that one. But when it comes to mindset, I think a lot of it has to do with being trained and training others. And it doesn't sound very nice to say it like that, but it has to do with being trained and not knowing any differently. And so I've been reading a lot of stuff, and of course talking to a lot of people, and I was surprised to find out. No, I was not surprised to find out, but um, so what made sense to me is that when you've been brought up by narcissistic parents, whether it's one or two, that when you are looking for a partner, we usually looking for a partner who has the same character traits as our parents have, because
Yeah.
they're familiar to us. We know that,
Mm,
so it's sort of safe, even when it's not. And um, so they usually end up with abusive partners, whether it's mentally or physically or both. And well, if it's physically, it's also mentally. Let's say the way it is. Anyway, So what they say is that the kids themselves who are the victims, and I explained earlier that I do not necessarily want to call it victims because a lot of people get out really strong,
Yeah.
and by calling them victims, I believe that I take away certain power, because
Yeah, I never ever liked being called a victim when
yes,
it went with me. When people say, "But you're a victim," no, I wasn't a victim. Don't. It makes you feel very oh, it's hard to say really, but it doesn't make you feel any better.
no,
You know, it's not
it's
very
more
good.
healing.
But
Yeah, so I agree. So we shouldn't. So I'm still looking for the right word. I haven't found one yet, but we'll find it somewhere,
yeah,
down the line. Um,
yeah,
so, but the ones experiencing it, they are usually the ones who are capable of empathy
mm,
and feeling, and they start overcompensating actually, and I guess that's when a lot of people, they don't do things for themselves, but they do things for other people.
yeah,
I do believe that when you've been on, let's say that you've been on the receiving end, on the wrong end of the stick, um, that you're more likely to, not give any attention to yourself. But when it comes to getting out of the situation, it is because of wanting to defend other ones, like your children, for instance.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, and for those who don't have children but have pets, they sometimes do it for their pets. So that's a good thing too. And that's you know realizing that, so it doesn't literally pass on from one parent to the child, but it passes on indirectly because they find partners you behave like this, and then when there are children at play, then who is in there? Are you sending me a private message?
yeah. Just to tell you that
Yeah,
I mute it because
yes,
coughing.
I get it, no worries, no worries. um so of course then the children experience it too, and so it can continue for generations to come.
Yeah,
And that's why it's so important that all of us speak out about it and open up, even though it's
yeah.
scary. And I know it's scary. I mean, you had to, um, you didn't want to believe. Well, I don't know. Did you believe the police officer when she approached you and said you need to do something?
Um, the first couple of times I was in hospital, the first time there was no police, but the second time the doctors could see it was abuse, so they called in. And it was two male officers the first like time, and they were nice. Don't get me wrong, and they said, "Look, we've been called in," because I was like, "Oh my god, what are they doing here?" And it was just like they were like, "Look, we just need to talk to you. We've been notified by the hospital that they can see abuse going on." And I was like, "No, no, 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 I did this and did that." And there was this copper bloke, I think he must have been about what, about in his 50s, late 50s. And he looked at me and he said, "You don't need to lie." He said, "I can't force you to do anything, but you really need to sit back and think what's happening here." He said, "Because some people are lucky, some people aren't." He said, "You're young." He said, "You've got your life ahead of you." He said, "Do not stick around." And he gave me a card, like police card thing. And I just never, because obviously you could tell, because I never did anything about it, like an idiot.
Well, let's hold there for a sec. You didn't do anything about it, as in being an idiot, but I don't believe you were an idiot. I think you were scared.
probably was scared, yeah, because it used to threaten me, and it used to be like to the point where he would attack my family and things like that. And I was like, well, I can't allow that to happen, because how do I know when he's going to do it, or if anything unsuspiciously happens? I'm not going to be able to prove it's him. So obviously I went back after that time, and obviously in between that and the last time I was in hospital was when obviously I had the little boy and I had to give birth. And because I actually said basically, I'd fallen downstairs and I hurt myself and stomach, because obviously with bruises on my stomach, so it did look like I'd gone down the stairs, but it was him where it kicked me so much. But obviously I just had to give birth, blah blah blah, you know.
Mm.
And obviously I was on my own when that happened, and I got to hold my little boy for, he died after about 15 to 20 minutes. I don't even think it was that, to be fair.
Yeah,
I
so for those
cannot.
who have missed it, what Joe's talking about is that she got abused so badly by her then husband that she actually went into labor, being 8 months pregnant, and as a result, she had to give birth, and she got to hold him, but she lost her boy.
Yeah. And then I had him in my arms for quite a few hours, because they let you do that anyway. And I was like, and obviously when I went to go home, I was on my own as well. And they were saying, oh, you need to have somebody in. I just said that I didn't have any family. I lied to them. I said, I haven't got anyone, because I know they would have contacted my family. So it was like, I just lied and said, no, I'm on my own.
So why
I'll be
why
all right.
why didn't you want them to contact the family?
Because I know my dad, because you know what he did after.
Yeah,
If if at the time, my dad probably would have been in prison by now. He would still be in prison,
yeah,
because I know what he would have done, and I know it, and I know he would have, and my brother too.
yeah. Well,
It's just a
to
reaction that, I mean, after a few months after I finally left him and got the courage and told him, I mean, that was bad enough. So I just couldn't think, oh my God, if I'd rung him, he would have, they just would have gone around him and killed him. And even though he was abusing me, I couldn't have that on my conscience, knowing that my dad or my brother had done that to him.
yeah,
Especially if they got away with it as well, that would be on my conscience for the rest of my life. And I couldn't have that. I couldn't live like that,
no,
because it's just the way I am. And I don't think my dad could have. I wouldn't want my dad, and I wouldn't want them to go to prison. Do you know what I mean? For me, I know,
yeah,
like, obviously he would have done it for protection, because he just would have switched and just see. He basically would have done a void, I think.
yeah.
Whenever
Oh,
they killed his son, that's what my dad and my brother would have done.
yeah,
Similar, and I know that for a fact, because it's because of what they did to my little boy. I think that's what would have hurt. Because when I told my dad after and everything, do you know what I mean? He was literally heartbroken. He was just devastated, absolutely devastated. Really, really was devastated, because my little boy was buried at the time, because obviously I was on my own and I didn't know. Back then, it wasn't a rule where you had to bury your child. Like now, you've got no choice. You have to bury him. And so he was buried with, like, somebody from the hospital. They normally put him in a mass grave thing. They normally go to a certain place. So I found out where that was. So I know where he is now. So, you know,
no, that's a
because I
good.
couldn't do that on my own, because obviously I had no money at the time. I was on my own. I didn't know what to do. And I was like, oh, you know, so I did that. But then the last straw, and it was really trivial how it started. You won't believe it how it started when I tell you, because you're probably going to sit there and go, why did he do that? We were sitting in the living room. I had my sister and my brother around, just normal, like, as they used to come back once a year. And this was 7 months after I'd lost my little one. And I put a bulb in, a new bulb, light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's standing underneath. I've put it in, and as I switched it off, it's fallen out.
Okay.
And obviously, he's picked up and looked at me, and anger in his face. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, oh, I'm in for it. And then my sister said, right, we better go home now. And I'm thinking, please don't go, please don't go, please don't go. My life's going to be hell. Please don't go. And I was saying that to myself, thinking, just don't go, just don't go, just don't go. But obviously, that to leave because I had children and that to get back to Southend, which was like an hour's drive from mine. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. So they've gone. And he's picked up the bulb and he's literally crushed it in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets the glass in his hand and just rubs it on my neck and goes, does that feel good? And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? You did that on purpose. I said, I never did it on purpose. I said, I put the bulb in. I thought it turned. I switched the switch on and it happened to fall out. I said, you really think I was going to do that on purpose? I said, what is the matter with you? I said, why would I do that? And that's when he just turned full pelt with his fist. That's when he damaged the side of my jaw. Then he punched me again in my eye. I'd done my eye socket. And he got cigarettes and just started burning them on my back, pushing me down, just burning my back and just literally biting me, pulling my hair. And then I had so much blood coming out from my mouth and nose that I actually screamed. And my neighbour heard. And because our kitchens sort of, because we was in a tower block, so my kitchen window faced their kitchen window and our windows were open, and she's heard me. So she's run out, she's banging on the door because her other half was still at work. But obviously I didn't open the door because I thought, I can't open the door, I can't let her see me like this, can't let her see me like this. And I could hear her screaming, Joe, open the door, open the effing door, open the effing door. So she's sort of gone quiet and then gone back in, and then he's dragged me by my hair, pulled me out of the bedroom. That's when he just started kicking me in the ribs, on my ribs, and he just broke my ribs. And I'd I was lucky because one of them, when it snapped, it was just literally tiny, millis away from a punctured lung.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have had that as well.
Covering
And
mouth
I
and
crawled, I got up and crawled, opened the door, and I crawled to my neighbour next door. And I went, she opened the door, she went, oh my God. I went, just call an ambulance, please. I need an ambulance and the police now. I couldn't take it no more. And obviously the ambulance come and she came up the hospital with me. She got a mum to look after her kids. He'd just done a runner. He'd just gone out somewhere. Um, then like two police officers, one male, one female. And I was laying there, I couldn't speak because my mouth was just, and she's trying to talk to my neighbour. My neighbour said, look, she said, I didn't even know any of this is going on. She said, I don't know if it's a continuous thing. She said, I don't know. She said, I heard screaming and shouted out for her name. And obviously, I knew something was wrong. And so they said, oh, okay then. So they sort of, once it cleaned me up and that, and I had oxygen mask on because I just couldn't breathe properly because where they broke my ribs, it was so bloody painful. I couldn't move. Um, he, the young bloke said, he looked at me and he went, how much more are you going to take of this? And I just looked at him and my eyes just streamed. I couldn't see anything. I think where the left eye was, socket was broken anyway, so I couldn't really see out of that eye, and my eyes were just streaming. And then the woman said to me, she went, look, she said, I know you're not going to press charges. She said, but please, I'm going to give you a number. You need to get away. You have to get away, she said, because if you don't, next time, you're not going to be so lucky. She said, I want to find him. I want to arrest him. She said, I can still arrest him, but because you won't press charges, he will get released. She said, so you're not going to are you going to press charges? And I went, no. She went, no. She said, so it's pointless us nicking him because they're just going to book him and then let him go. She said, and it's, what's the point? She said, you really need to get, so she gave me this card and this number for this place. So when I went back, like I was in hospital for about 4 or 5 days. He didn't come up there once, which I was glad anyway. My friend, she came up every day, and she got in contact with one of my best friends, and she came up the hospital. She went absolutely mental at me. She went, what the F are you doing? She said, you was never like this. She said, you would never let people treat you like this. She went, why didn't you contact me? Why have you left it? But it was just so much going in my head. And I said, look, I can't. So she went, right. She said, I'm coming back with you. She said, I'm going to stay with you. She said, I don't care what he says. I'm going to come back. So I went, okay. So when I got discharged, we went back. He was at work. I presumed he was at work. It was about 6:30 in the evening, and he walked in, and like my friends just stood there in front of him, and she's gone to him, hit me, and I've gone. Obviously, I couldn't speak, but I'm going, please don't, please don't. She went, no, hit me. And he went, I didn't do that. She fell off the ladders. I didn't touch her. She went, what? So she gets broken ribs, fractured jaw, half of her jaw, and her eye socket. She went, cigarette burn. So where did cigarettes burn come from? Well, she's sitting there doing it to herself. Yeah. She's got mental issues, blah, 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 and this and that. So she had this blazing row with him. So he stormed out. And I don't know where he went. And there was a knock at the door, and it was her other half and her dad. And they had these cases. And they went, right, what's yours? And I went, what do you mean? They went, what's yours? I went, this, that. So they took everything. Right. She went, come on, you're going. She said, you are not stepping foot back in this place. And that was it. They dragged me out of it. I think if they hadn't, I wouldn't be here now.
Yeah, I'm glad they did.
It was just
What made you go back? I mean, you lost your little boy. Why?
fear,
Of what?
thing, fear of thinking, oh my God, nobody's going to believe me. They're all going to think it's me. It's in my head that I'm accusing him, and it's me that's done it. Guilt, thinking, oh my God, I made him so angry. I'm the one that made him go like this. It's my fault, because that's all he strum it in my head. It was my fault. And then I had the fear because he swore that he would hurt my family.
Yeah. So let's get back for a sec to them making you believe it's your fault.
Mm,
So I must assume people are listening to it to us right now, or maybe later on. You might be in that same situation.
yeah.
What would you tell them if they believe it's their fault?
It's
Whether
not their fault. They've got to get it out of their head. It's not their fault. They are mentally abusing you to make you believe, because mental abuse can be worse than physical abuse. I had both, so I know what it was both like. But mental abuse, and when they're drumming it into their heads, yeah, it's your fault. You've done this. You made me do this, and you do believe it because you're sitting in it and you're like, oh my God, maybe it is my fault. Oh my God, it is. I've done that wrong. I've done this wrong. I said that wrong. I said that wrong. Oh my God, what? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? And then you try, and every time you speak to them, you have so much fear
Mhm.
that you're frightened what to say. So when you talk to them, it takes you a while to register what you want to say, because you're frightened in case you say something in the wrong way. So if
Mhm.
someone's out there and they're telling them that it's their fault, they've got to believe it's not their fault. They must do something about it. Talk to anyone, message anyone. There's loads of people out there that you can get in contact with nowadays. It's a lot more easier than when it was when I was at that age. It's so much easier, and you
Yeah.
just need to really contact and just keep saying to yourself, no, I'm not guilty. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. I'm not guilty. I didn't do this. It's not me. It's him. He's manipulating me to believe it's me. They need to keep drumming it into themselves. But it's easier said than done, because when you're in that situation, it's not
Yeah.
that easy.
So, did you still love him?
I thought I did, but no, it wasn't love. I think you you think you still love them,
Hmm.
but it's the fear. The fear overtakes everything. Anxiety and fear would overtake everything. And
You
I
also.
still did sort of love him before I lost my little boy. I
Hmm.
sort of did feel like, oh my God, but I love him. I can't leave him. I really, really love him still, blah, blah, blah. But when it happened to my little boy, then that's when I had sheer hate towards him. But in another sense, a part of my brain was saying, no, you still love him.
Hmm.
But I didn't. But obviously, I'm telling myself I did, but I knew I didn't.
So, what should you would you like to tell to people who know they are in abusive relationship? Again, whether it's physical or mental, um, and they know it's not right because they realize a big difference between hanging out with their partner and maybe similar persons, and when they experience that tense feeling and that anxiety, versus maybe if they have the option to hang out with other people. And of course that option often is there because they're master manipulators in isolating you from the rest of the world.
Mm.
But say they come to this point that they sort of realize it's not good, I should be getting away, but what's left for me out there, maybe it's not that bad. When they are going back and forth between, I know it's not good, but what else is there, because they can no longer um, they can no longer be on their own, because they've basically been made so small.
Yeah, that you don't feel like you belong to anyone out there. You feel like nobody wants to care about you. Nobody's interested in what you're going through. Like I used to
Yes.
see my friends, and I'd always feel like I'm not included in their little. But it wasn't. It was me. It was me. I'm thinking it, but it wasn't. It was just all my actions, because I just felt like the world around me didn't want me here, didn't want me involved in anything. And these people that are in this rut, they need to get the courage, try and get the courage and say to themselves, I need to do this for me, especially when they've got children. I didn't have children at the time, small children. Obviously, I lost my boy, but I didn't have small children, because I couldn't imagine what their life would be like now if they'd seen all that go on. It would screw their heads up, because watching someone being abused, and it does happen, children see their parents being abused, whether it's a man being abused or a woman by their partners. And it's so sad that these kids have to deal with this, because it screws them up, you know?
Yeah, sometimes they can get involved in the lies.
And
So
it's
Zen is on there for a sec. So I'm going to say hi to Zen, and I'm going to explain why you are not visible. So I
okay.
know Zen loves to see you. So Zen, Chi, Joe, she's suffering from COVID, and as a result, she looks like, well, you probably look better than when you got beaten up, but still, you don't
Yeah.
feel very well. So she's got it bad, the COVID, and the headaches, the elephant on the chest, no smell, no taste, so and a sore throat. Yeah. So we are doing a follow up on last week's. He says, "Hi Joe, please get better."
Oh, thank you, Zan. Thank you so much, mate. I hope so, because I feel like total, utter rubbish. I've never felt this rough for a long while. Really, really bad. But as you can see, I sound like a horse when I talk. It's not my normal voice. But I hope you're okay.
Yeah, I think he has got a show to do in a little bit. No issue.
Yeah,
so, so we are talking. We're doing a follow up on last week because I don't know if you remember, but during the show, Joe shared a little something, and of course, so did Bunny. Then the next day, I had I was doing this Instagram live, and then two other people, one guy and one gal, there's a Michael and Maria. They shared their stories too, and as if that wasn't enough, then Sunday I was talking to someone else, and when we went off live, um, well, there was a similar story. And then today again, and this time it was a woman, I again heard the story. And what I love about Joe being here is by sharing her story. And I know I interrupt you every once in a while, but I try to um, find out what it is you were thinking. And okay, so one sec. Sense is saying I'm okay. Thumbs up. Did the show earlier. Okay, cool. Tomorrow I have a show and I'm on Story show. Oh, that's so going back to Joe, I if we can get people to understand what's going on, the struggle between, should I stay, should I go? I know I need to leave, but so figuring out what might go on in their minds and what we can
yeah,
say to them in order so that they realize they're not on their own.
mm.
And yeah, so Zen says, Joe, stay strong. We are here for you.
Oh, thank you, Zan. You're such a sweetheart. I miss seeing you. I know. Just hopefully next week I will be a-okay.
Yeah, maybe I should put a link in there for people who want to come in. I didn't think about putting it there. Um, so for those who want to, you're welcome to hop on. So, um, yeah, Joe was just sharing how her neighbor heard her scream actually and came pounding on the door. And what I liked about what came next, and that was your friend, I think, who came home with you and said,
Yeah,
hit me.
yeah,
And, you know, and this was so important what was said right then and there, that the guy started denying it all. Of course, that's what we,
yeah,
because no
yeah.
one,
Expected. Mm.
one who's doing it all. But it's what is happening, that people make it to as if it's your fault. And I heard this very creepy story, and honestly, it's not the first time I heard it. And like I said, it's since I opened up talking about this topic, I heard it from so many people, um, that actually the ones who get left behind, and I mean the perpetrators in this case, um, they might even be stalking you. And that's kind of scary when you listen to it, because they can't let go. They even change their entire routine just to, well, I'm not even sure if it's to be on the nerve of the other one, or because they can let go because they no longer are in charge, they no longer have to control. But by doing so, because the ones who have experienced it, they usually have a fragile state of mind, as in they're still doubting, did I do the right thing? Didn't I? There was some love and some hugs involved, and maybe I was better off, even though. Um, so, what would you say about that?
Sorry, having a coughing fit. Um,
No, that's okay. I think Sam
um,
jumps up.
yeah, it's like, oh, it's my breathing at the moment. It's so tight.
Yeah.
Um, it's really they need to
Do you
listen, not to blame themselves, not to think they're guilty, not to let them manipulate them, because that's what they do. They manipulate you. They put it into your head that you are this bad person. You're the one that's causing all the trouble. You're doing this, you're doing that. This is what they're very, very good at. Um, like abusers are very good at hiding. Like when I was outside with him, everybody loved him. He was a sweet person. It used to be, oh yeah, my other half, yeah, yeah, she's beautiful, blah blah blah, and all this and all that. And as soon as you walk through the door, he would
bad?
change just like that, you know.
Yeah.
And it's, oh, why did you look at that fella? That I see that bloke staring at you. Yeah, not my fault. You know, that's what I'd used to get. Oh, you were staring at him though. We was in the car. Why did you look at the bloke in the car next to you? I said I didn't. I just literally turned my head around and the guy's sitting there. It was things like that. I couldn't. Oh my god! I was in the end. I was frightened to go out
Yeah. And
because if
exactly
I
until.
walked and a bloke was coming in front of me, I'm like, well, where do I put my head? Because if I don't look in front, I don't know where I'm walking. So it was sort of like, and I could feel him pulling at my arms, just say like, stop looking. But I wasn't even looking at this person, you know. But that's how he was. It was, oh my God, it was just an absolute nightmare. And these people, when this is happening to them, first signs of anything that they know that's out of the ordinary, like starts manipulating you, first time slapping you, walk away, get out, walk away straight away. Do not think to yourself, oh my God, I was in it wrong. Maybe I should apologize. No, get out that door and don't ever look back.
Yeah.
If you've got
And
children,
when
you take
you're
your children. Just
yeah.
get out. Don't ever stay and think that you're the one that's done wrong, because you're not. You do not deserve that. Nobody deserves that. No man or woman that goes through it, they do not deserve to have that done to them.
Yeah.
You get
That's
out of it straight
very
away.
important.
Do not stay, because once you stay there once, it'll happen twice, it'll happen three times, and it'll go on and on and on. And in the end, you're sort of in that rut and you're stuck there and you can't get away. So you need to really do it in the beginning, the first signs you notice. And a bloke should not touch you, full stop. I
Yeah.
don't care who they are, they've got no right to slap you. Unless you've got a knife in your hand and you want to stab them for no reason, then yeah, they've got every right to stop you from doing something like that. But if a man walks up to you, what did you do? You looked at that bloke, pelt right in the mouth. What I used to get, the amount of bruises I used to get on my cheeks, and but I used to hide it. And then he started punching me in parts of my body where nobody could see. That's how they do it. They do it.
Yeah.
It's not shown on your body. They're very, very clever. Like cigarette burns. I mean, I had about 12 cigarette burn marks on my body, on my back,
Yeah.
on my
Well,
side.
what I said before you went on the show, they are usually very clever in making sure that it's not visible. So
Yeah.
also for the people who are not physically abused but mentally,
Mm.
um, what you said, the first instant that they get called,
Make you believe it's you. Yeah.
yeah,
You're
that,
the wrong one, not them. Get
Yes,
out. Just get out. It's not
yeah.
worth it.
Because we don't realize this, but when we are exposed to certain stimuli, which could be, so, I mean, it's the same when, and it is maybe a bit of strange comparison, but when I explain it, you'll understand. So when you're in love, the first few weeks, it's all sunshine and roses.
Oh,
And
same as me, yeah. For the first
yeah,
6, 7 months, it was lovely.
and then at some point that becomes normal.
Hmm.
So when it comes to being mentally or physically or both abused, the first time you're like, nah, that can't be right, and no, this is not going to happen again. And then the second time it happens, it's getting a little bit more normal again. And then the third time it happens, then and at some point, then you start thinking, oh, it must be me because it's happening all the time.
Yeah, that's it. It does. You do. You do. This is the
And
problem.
and then you probably think, okay, well, I'll probably deserve it because otherwise, why would he do it or she
Mm.
do it? And that's why I'm so glad with what you said. The first time it happens, get out,
Yep.
get away.
Get
That
up, walk out. They're not worth it. Your
no,
life is worth more than having to deal and put up with that.
yes,
It's not really not worth it.
and that's what people need to learn. But for those who are in there and are between, you know, saying, okay, my life isn't worth anything anymore because I don't know how to deal with it on my own.
Mm.
So who might think I was better off with the abuse because at least I wasn't alone because they don't have like an identity anymore.
No, because the thing is as well, when you leave an abuser, you're alone because you're frightened to trust another man.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as you meet another man and you like your first argument or whatever, you're like, whoa, is he going to hit me? Well, you know, like when I was with Lee and Taylor's dad, when I first met him after we had our first little argument, and I was like, and I started panicking. I started having a panic attack. He's going, "What's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter?" He said, "Look, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to touch you. Calm down." He said, "I'm not like that. That's not me." You know, but he could see the fear that I was having because I thought he was going to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that got me to actually build my trust up again. With men because I was literally petrified. As soon as another man would raise their voice, I'll be like, "Oh no, oh God, no! What's going to happen? What's going to happen? It's gonna start again." But eventually, I learned to deal with that, and it did go. But they've got to realise they're not alone. There is a better life for them out there. Take one step at a time. Try and contact somebody or talk to somebody that's either been in that situation or can be there for you and work around that to get your way out of there.
So what would you say to those out there who are on their own but they don't know? Maybe they go out and they talk to other people, but then when they're back home again, um, that's when the depression basically sets
Mm,
in.
yeah,
Because, like I said, they lost a sense of who they were. They lost their strength, and they're basically just processing what has happened. And because when I was asked, is it normal that I sleep a lot now? I said, yeah, that's normal because you've been through a lot and you're finally realizing it.
yeah,
But here's the thing, when the body starts to react in a way that you get that fight or flight reaction and you stop eating and all that stuff, that's when it gets dangerous.
yeah, yeah,
And then when you think, okay, life isn't worth anything anymore, because um, people can tell you they love you and you can come to them, But you might be at some point like, that can be true. They're just saying it, but it's just not true. So I can rely on that. I'm on my own. What would you say to those people who literally believe that they are alone, who do not believe their siblings or who once were their loved ones, and who basically feel like they don't have anything to live for anymore
Mm.
because they're so tired.
Well, the good thing nowadays is majority of people have mobile phones and internet.
Hmm.
So there's always places they can search. They put in domestic abuse or anything like that. Numbers will come up for people they can talk to, they can reach out to. And like Facebook, there's many and many places now. Even Instagram, they have pages for domestic abuse. All they have to do is just join and inbox privately, and people will get back to them. They need to reach out. That's the quickest and the best way for people to reach out nowadays. And that's why so many nowadays are saved because of the internet, because they have phones, you know. I know
Yeah.
you feel like you're own, you feel like you're isolated because you're frightened to go outside, you feel like nobody cares, but you'll be surprised there's always that one person out there that will care and that will be there, as I found out by my friend
Hmm.
and
So
even my neighbour.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And you don't realize it. And neighbors, they are far more inclined to help you, but they need to know it. And if they
Exactly.
don't, so they
Yeah.
might observe something like there something is wrong,
Yeah.
but not realize what it actually is until
Mm.
you tell them. So how about, for instance, having a pet, a cat or a dog, to, and especially dogs are far more capable, I suppose, of interacting with you when
Mm.
things are going haywire. So I don't know. I know you've got cats, and you of
But
course you have dogs, but
I didn't have any animals at the time, no. I never had any, so I don't really know in that situation. Say, like, if you've got a dog and you're close with that dog, but the person you're trying to leave's close to that dog, what do you do? Do you take the dog with you? Because you can go to places where they don't accept dogs or animals, and you're in like a situation where
yeah, that's
some women will actually stay because of that animal, because they
yeah,
don't want to leave the animal in case they abuse that animal. And if they've offered to go somewhere but can't take the animal with them, a majority of people will not go. They will stay there. That's the thing as well. It's like with children.
yeah. Well, that and that's why you need a plan, an overall
Mm.
plan. You in
Yeah.
general, of course. But
Yeah.
when people, and for those who out there who are on the outside of it all, if you see someone who is struggling, um, you can ask them what they want and need, but we as outsiders probably have to be the one in charge, um, because you can't expect someone who is in most of the time as in 24/7 basically in survival mode to come up with a decent plan. I mean,
Yeah.
you just think about, am I going to survive the next minute or the next hour or at least this day?
And if they've got children, there is places that they can contact on the internet, safe houses. All they have to do is just anonymously message them, and they will sort that out. And then within a couple of days, they will find somewhere for them to go with their children to keep
Yeah,
them
they
safe
can
away.
probably leave a note in the backpack of the children,
Because
maybe
I know it's a big
to,
step. Obviously, you're used to living where you are, but if you want your safety and your children to be safe, then you do it. You just get out of it. Go.
yeah. But
You have that
when
future.
I mean, when the children go to school and they were there to contact the teacher, and they wouldn't know what the letter said, but it's just like, oh, my mom asked me to give you this, or
Yeah,
the mom would
exactly.
put it at a place which wouldn't make sense, so the teacher would know.
Yeah, exactly. You
Yeah.
just need to, you just got to think of them children, your children's future as well. Is it
Yeah.
a life for them to live and see that every day of someone being abused? It's just not fair, whether it's a man or a woman.
And
There's
of
a lot of
course, the result might be that they think it's normal and they either become the abuser when they are being abused themselves,
Mm,
or they become the one who's being abused because they consider it normal.
yeah,
And something that we need to think about too. And here's the other thing. Mm, I'm not sure if I said it last week, but if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your children. And if your children not living at home anymore, then remember at some point they will have children of their own. And no matter
exactly.
how old they
Yeah,
are, they will want to ask questions. Oh, how was this? How was that? And they want to know. And it's bad enough when your parents have died of some sort of disease or accident of some sort. But when
yeah,
it's because of this, that's a whole different ball game. And when you get away from the perpetrator and you you decide um, to quit altogether because you don't know what to do anymore, if you do, please think about what you leave behind. And I know that especially when there's substance abuse going on, um, that people are not thinking about it anymore because all they want to do is survive. And that's why support is so important. So you asked me today about the bracelet on the
yes, it is. Yeah,
so did you understand what I said?
yes.
Would you like to share?
I sort of understand. It's normal. It's like because you can get bracelets for anything now,
Yeah.
like ones to show that you're there to help other people and things like that. I mean, you can get bracelets now where you can have something written on there so people can see that you're there if they're in need of help. You're there to help them.
Yeah, it's like
And
a reminder.
yeah, thinking, there is help and stuff, there is somebody out there that can help you and, you know,
And also as a reminder to stay strong,
mm,
every time you want to give in, don't pull yourself out.
uh,
But
yeah,
that, yeah, it's like little reminder of support. Like,
mm,
okay, you are not on your own, and
yeah.
you can.
I need to get something like that.
Yeah. So that's I'd actually given the bracelet to someone a while back, and I had no clue why. I bought it with a couple of other bracelets, and one was really cool because it had the anchor on it and all that stuff, and it's actually it's behind me on the closet.
Yeah,
But there was one, and it was like, okay, this looks cool. So I gave it to him as a reminder, like, okay, just remember I've been here, helped you out,
yeah,
and then last week, no, a couple of days ago, I said, okay, now you're going to put it on, and it was like, okay, I can't do that because it has these, um, what do you call them? They're sort of like straws, ribbons.
yeah, yeah.
And he said, I can do it. I can do that because, and I said, okay, you've got your teeth, right? And you've got one hand because you're doing it on your wrist. I said,
How's your
hey,
friend anyway?
so you pull one end of the cord between your teeth, and then with the other, you make a little knot. And then when you've done that, you're going to make another one.
How's your friend doing anyway? What's his name again?
Yeah, I can't say his name on the show.
Oh, no, no,
Be some
no.
sort of anonymity because otherwise
Yeah,
people wouldn't want to share their story anymore. So for
uh,
those who come on the show and they show their faces, that's a whole different story. But
yeah,
I need to be um, aware of the anonymity. So it's okay for me to share the story, but when it would become traceable back to the person,
yeah, He
That
needs to sort himself out anyway, doesn't he? He's not got the confidence at the moment, has he?
no, no, absolutely.
No,
So, but it's a struggle. It's a big struggle. It's a
I
big
know.
struggle.
Bless him.
The fact that I'm sharing his story on here, and that people are actually sharing their stories in return, is really helping him. It's really helping him, and also hearing the stories, as in, um, being isolated, being believed that it's you, um,
Yeah.
excusing yourself, and that's why I nitpicked a little bit on your story um, to let others know, like, okay, so if you hear this or you experience this, no, it's not correct. And one of the things, um, which which was very profound was, like you said, you were not just tiptoeing, you were doing way worse than tiptoeing. I mean,
Mm.
you knew that if you were even to look in someone's direction, you would get well. But so you, instead of looking directly straight at someone, you just try to look the other way so they wouldn't look at you, because then the partner, your ex, would think like, you were watching them. So, talk about being made paranoid. Um, and that's the thing, of course, and that's what he said. He said it's the difference between feeling at ease with someone or feeling anxious, like I need to be on guard 24/7. That difference, that basically says it all. And as an outsider, I can quickly tell that someone you want to stay away from, or that someone, yeah, okay. But that could probably be a good indication when you don't know what's left and right anymore. Do you agree?
Mm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah. I just hope that he can get past everything. I know it's going to take time, but he will.
You will.
Now he knows his people out there as well.
Yeah, and that's
And
that's why it's so important to listen to these kind of stories.
yeah,
So, and that's why I ask you, like, okay, so if they're really down and they don't see a way out, um, you know, having escaped the perpetrator, but still not being capable of living their life on their own because they've been, made so small and feel insignificant and made as if it's all their fault. Um, well, you actually said, go online. We've got phones nowadays. Talk to other people. Reach out.
yeah,
And that's the thing. Like I said before. Reach out to total strangers. And that may be, um, strange on the surface, but it's not like all family out there. They might say they're out there, as in, they're for you and helping you out. Um, but when it comes down to it, are they? Or is it just for the outside world? They say, oh, see, we're here for this person. And then when the person really needs the help, nothing happens. And strangers, that's a different story. It's a completely different story. So, okay, so I want to hear, at least one and maybe three positive things you got out of it.
sorry, just having a
Yeah,
coughing fit.
sneezing, coughing,
Oh.
whatever.
Hi, what was the question again? Sorry.
Okay, if you were to list at least one positive thing and possibly three positive things that you gained by this experience. And not to say that people need to experience this first, because that's not what I'm after. This is
No.
about for those who are in a situation that they realize that they can get out of it and they can get
Yeah.
stronger.
Yeah.
What
You
what
can. Once you're out of that situation, you can start to rebuild your confidence for one, because when you're in something like that, whether it's domestic or just normal abuse, mental abuse, confidence is rock bottom. But once you get out there, you can start to rebuild your confidence up and make you feel a lot stronger.
how did you rebuild your confidence?
Um, Meeting my eldest two's dad,
Okay.
because I was scared. It was my friend, the one that dragged me away. She's the one that got us on our first date. It was a friend of her friends, and Paul, his name is, and we just sort of like started going out for a couple of drinks, we played pool, went to cinema, things like that. And it, but I was sort of really, oh, quite nervous, because obviously I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't know if I can trust him. And my friend's saying, look, don't let your guard down, but put that little bit step in and learn to trust. Because you was with him, it doesn't mean that he's the same. She said, I've known him for a long while. My partner's known him for a long time, and he's not abusive. There's not an ounce of abuse in him. I know it's hard for you to accept that, but you've got to learn to try and have that bit of courage and step out of your comfort zone, to. And obviously, as I said, the first time we had our little round, I was like, whoa. And he was like, I'm not going to touch you. I would never harm you. I'd never lay a finger on you. He said, I would never do that. Don't have that fear of thinking that I am going to hurt you, because I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And he's the one that did actually build my confidence up towards men, because any man, just even talking to a man, I would freeze. I would get in a like, oh, no,
Well, you were
I'll start
punished
panicking.
probably for doing so. So it was twofold. Um, you were punished by your partner, by your ex,
Yeah,
um, just for looking at a guy, and then of course the guys, you don't trust them because you don't know what they're going to do.
no,
And
exactly.
and that's why I love what you said, and I think it's a good advice to go out there again. And
Yeah, you need to, because you've still got a life ahead of you. And I think going through what we've been through, you should know the signs straight away. As soon as you meet someone, all you need is that one little ounce of reminder of what happened when you first went out. Then you walk away and say, sorry, you're not for me.
yeah,
Bye. You're gone. Walk away.
so
It's
basically when
very
you
rare
feel
you
like you
get,
walk on eggshells.
yeah, I mean, it's very, very rare you get someone again. It's very, very likely for that to happen. It does, don't get me wrong, it does happen,
Yeah,
but it's
exactly.
very, very rare. It's not always the case, but you should know the signs first straight away. And obviously, we split up when Taylor was 2, but we were still friends. There wasn't no, we just fell out of love with each other.
Hmm.
And then 5 years after that, I met my lovely late husband, Keith, and he couldn't have been, he was the most gentlest, kindest, softest man ever, you
And
know.
maybe that's that one thing I was searching for. Like, you can find love again. I mean, you
Oh,
basically
God, yeah,
gave two examples.
yeah,
Okay, so one you fell out of love with, but he built you back up,
yeah.
and then
And
you
I've
had.
always appreciated him. I've always told him that, and he knows that.
Mhm.
And he got on with my husband as well. So it was no bitterness or anything like that. And it was just nice to have him. And as I said, Keith was just a gentle giant. He was just such a sweetheart. He was everything. He
Mhm.
would never even raise his voice, hardly. Very, very, very rare. He was just a gentle giant,
Yeah.
you know.
And you know, the way you describe him, that probably basically says it all. You know, someone who is there to where you're relaxed around the other one. You know,
Yeah.
soothing, comfortable. It's okay, no pressure.
No. And people say to me, "Oh, would you like, if you had the chance, would you change, go back and change?" Like, I said no, because obviously going through all that, I would never have met my eldest two's dad. I wouldn't have had my wonderful children, and I would never have met Keith. So I would go through all that again just to get my children in my life
Yeah,
and my
that's
wonderful granddaughter. I wouldn't change it for the world, because, as I said, when these things happen, you learn along the way.
yeah,
It teaches you, and then you can be there for other people when they're going through the same thing.
yes,
It's just, like, people can go through nasty divorces and when you've got children, but when you're amicable with your kids, then that's a good thing, because one, it's good for the children. Like me, I'd never ever put down my kids' dad, like the eldest two. I'd never ever put their dad down in front of them. I would never say, "Oh, well, your dad's it's your dad's dad," because they used to say to me, "Oh, what do you think about my dad, Mum?" I said, "Look, what I think about it's got nothing to do with you." I said, "He's your dad, and
yeah,
that is it. That's my privacy. I would never go, yeah, well, your dad is." I don't believe in that. When you see a lot of it happening now, and like, I've had friends that have split up with their partners and they call their exes this and that in front of the kids, and I'm saying to them, why are you doing that? Why would you say that he's that? Your child's sitting there. Oh, well, they need to know. I said, no, they don't. They find out themselves.
yes.
If you're happy, unhappy, I said, you
Friends, yeah,
don't put them
children,
down.
yeah.
You don't stick. And I never ever did that with my kids, because at the end of the day, I gave them the option. It's their chance to find out who their dad is themselves. I'm not, obviously, if he was abusive to them, then obviously then it's a different story. I would stop them from seeing him, you know.
Hmm.
But no, I never ever did it, and he didn't with me either, And
That's good.
and that's why my kids are very loyal, and the way they were with Keith, because obviously they very rarely see their dad because he was working and things like that. So Keith was like their dad. My son had a big argument with his father, unfortunately, which was pretty sad that happened, but he had every reason to.
Hmm.
But I'm not going to get into that because it's private. But he saw Keith as his dad. That was his dad to him. He was there for him. He brought him up. He did everything with him. And that literally crucified him when he died. Where
Yeah.
Taylor, she's got a good relationship with her dad. They're bonded really well. you know, they got fabulous, but my Lee's still a bit. He talks to him. Don't get me wrong, but he has reasons because of what happened. It's quite right the way he is thinking, because I think I'd probably be the same as well. So, but that was not me to decide. That was his own decision. Because I said I'd never ever put him down in front of him, because you can't do that.
Yeah.
Children have to find out themselves. you know.
Yeah.
Unless, as I said, the only time I'd put my foot in, as if he was abusive to him, then it would have been a whole new different story. I still
Yeah.
wouldn't have put them down, but I would have stopped them from going there and like said, look, I will explain to you when you're a lot older, but then at the moment you're too young, but he's not a good person to be around, blah, 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 this and that. It's like it's the same as if my little boy had survived. I would have had to tell him about his father eventually. I would have had to say, look, he's not a good person. You're too young to understand at the moment, but he's just not a good person to be around. When you get older, you will realise, and then you can decide for yourself if you want to speak to them or. But so many women or men, either way, they don't do things like that now. It's terrible. The body language and the actual language that they do in front of their kids is atrocious.
Yeah.
Absolutely atrocious. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah. We have to remember that kids are not adults. Kids should
Exactly.
be seen as friends. They are your children. So don't burden them with adult
No.
things. because they should
Exactly.
be able to
Yeah.
live a happy youth, have a childhood without too many worries.
Yeah.
So, but um, so here on the positive note, here you are, and you are sharing your story. So
Yeah.
that's you know, it's possible um, to move on and become stronger.
Yeah.
And of course, last week we saw some emotions, and that's okay too.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. You should be able to give your emotions because when it comes to speaking about a child, it's emotional for anybody, especially losing one. It's the hardest thing, and the circumstances as well. Sometimes I'm okay talking about it, and other times it just really affects me because it was
Yes,
just out of the blue last week, wasn't it? Because I came on and it was sort of, I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And it was sort
yeah,
of just
I
thrown at me.
realized, and I
So the
apologize.
emotions sort of took over,
Yeah,
because obviously at the end of the day, it was my little boy, and he meant everything to me.
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry you got in the middle of the conversation. Then
Mm,
I asked you about it, and I should have given you a little bit more time.
that's all right.
So, but okay, for those out there who have been listening, um, remember when there are signs and you feel like this is not normal, go away, get away, run, as people say. When you feel like you have to tiptoe, you can't be yourself anymore. And even worse, you start doubting yourself and you start
Mm,
accusing yourself because you would be doing things you normally do, and then all of a sudden you don't anymore. Those are clearly signs that things are not good.
that's
And um, I'm thinking about something else for a sec. I'm not sure if I should bring it on, but I do want to share it. I know there's a lot of things going on, talking about young ladies who are wearing short skirts. And then there are some guys out there who think that's nice, and they start um, yelling at them, saying hi, walking along, and even worse, touching them and all that stuff. Uh,
mm,
it's not normal, and you shouldn't have to change what
no,
you're wearing.
no,
And
that's right.
if guys react to you because you're looking them in the eye, still don't change. You might be on guard with some out there, uh, but know who to trust. But don't ever change your ways, and especially don't think it's you. That's maybe the most important things. Some things you can prevent, but you can keep yourself from blaming yourself only because you see how other people, and especially certain boys, are reacting to you. And lately there has been all these things going on about pictures and videos being sent out there, and showing things we don't want to see necessarily. And even so, you don't have to accept that. So if any guy is trying to get you to do stuff you don't feel comfortable with, don't do it. Don't do it just because he gives you a smile. Same as when he slaps you around, that's not good. Even when he tells
That's right.
you right after, I love you, don't do anything you feel like this doesn't feel good. And by the way, if you're a boy and you meet a girl who does something similar, same story, it has to be in balance and with
Yeah.
respectful. And respectful means you can be you, you can be your authentic self, and you literally respect other people. So that's my final thought. Do you have one more final thought, or do you say, well, I've said so much already?
Yeah, I think my brain's like, what's the moment? My
Right.
chest is really hurting. I
Yeah.
need to stop talking, I think.
Yeah. So I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has been watching. I mean, it's been a really long show, which I didn't expect it to be, but it did.
Yeah.
So thank you. And next week, Joe and I, if she's got her voice back, are going to talk about a certain actor, what he has meant in our lives, especially when it comes to speaking out,
Yeah.
and for me also inclusion,
Yeah.
about um, teaching others.
To accept other people, like if you've got a disability or anything like that, to accept
Yeah,
them into your life and not keep them away.
yeah,
They deserve to be like everybody else. Everyone deserves to have been able to speak out and everything,
yes. So
including.
those who know Joe and our relationship, they probably know what we're talking about, but I'm not going to say it just yet. I would say keep an eye on our Instagrams, both from Cheeky Joe and me, and you will find
Mm.
out soon enough. And yeah, that might be fun next week. It's. I'm going to see if I can show some clips of the movies that have been made. Um, by the way, by children from Syria, or young people, I should say. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's very inspiring, I have to say, but also very touching, very moving. So, okay, so with that, I'm going to end this live, and I am going to
Bye.
see you next week. Bye.
Bye.